In my day-to-day life, I seek to be rational, I seek to use reason as a tool, and this is because through trial and error, I've learned that rationality and being rational provides many ways of dealing with conflicts, many ways of dealing with differing ideologies, and it's a really good way of navigating through the world in general. Um, I've noticed that many times in discourse of any kind, people simply assert X. So, in other words, they assert a statement but without evidence. Now, what reason tries to do is reason seeks to provide evidence for the claims, and it also provides a non-biased conceptual framework from which to work through, and from which to use, with which you can use, and so in other words, you're not simply asserting X, and this is extremely important. In the end, then, it's honestly about the strength of the argument. Using the form of argumentation provides a basis for discussion, and this is perhaps why reason is actually marginalized a lot in public discourse. So the problem with providing evidence is that it makes your case stronger, it makes your argument stronger, and reason seeks to do this by providing evidence. The other issue is the fact that it also provides a non-biased conceptual framework, and unfortunately a lot of people are convinced by biases. So there's the appeal to emotion, for instance, which is a fallacy, and this is the idea that you are drawn to something because it has some kind of emotional appeal, but that usually involves some kind of bias. And the whole point of this is to talk about, is to bring about the importance of the strength of an argument and why that's important, which is essentially because you're not simply asserting X. You are providing an argument, you're providing argumentation, and you're providing cohesion and coherence. And this is indeed something that you learn a lot in analytic philosophy. This is a strength of analytic philosophy, is putting so much attention on the form of the argument and making good arguments, even if the arguments themselves aren't always correct. Now, a lot of people think that the problem with using reason or abstract thinking or even philosophy is this idea that it's divorced from the pragmatic concerns that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But I think that's unfair because reason is itself a tool, and reason is itself the pragmatic way of going about things. It is itself pragmatic. Reason is itself pragmatic. And this is important because reason is not merely a theory, it is how we actually think about things, it is the way that we think about things as well, and it is providing a method for getting through various, for thinking through various thoughts and understanding where others are coming from. Again, as I was saying before, the problem with much discussion nowadays, with much public discourse, is that people simply assert X and they essentially do not use reason. And this is because generally in the public sphere, we get varying influences, such as politics and religion. And the problem with politics and religion is that many times they simply tell us what to believe. But on the flip side, you have problems with science as well, because all science does is it provides a physical description of the world without instructing us how to think. And this is why reason is important, even though politics, religion, and science dominate our modern world, because reason helps us learn how to think, reason helps us think through our own thoughts, reason helps provide us a conceptual framework from which to work with. I'm bringing up all of this because I think it's important. Just in recent discourse, I've spotted a lot of bad reasoning. I've spotted what are called fallacies, and there are many that I've seen. I've seen the ad hominem, for instance, as well as the slippery slope, and this is just for starters. And the problem with these fallacies is it shuts down discussion, especially on something as important as a controversy and finding peace with our differing viewpoints, and it is not helpful for having a useful debate. These fallacies and bad reasoning in general. And this is why you could say I'm championing reason in a lot of ways, because I see the benefits of using reason. But of course, reason also has limits, it has its limitations, but in the end it's still more about substance, as Socrates would have us understand, and as Socrates proved with his own arguments. And it is not simply sophistry or rhetoric. So there's something that we're actually trying to communicate, there's a reason why, and it's not simply looking good, it's not simply trying to persuade others just to make them biased to our cause. It's about presenting an argument that is meaningful and purposeful. So what I've had to do is I've had to acknowledge the limits of reason, but I've also found it useful in my day-to-day life with thinking through varying issues and controversial issues, especially that plague society, and it's helped me come to more understanding of more of a general understanding on various things and in general. And to put it bluntly, basically, this is the role of reason in my life, and this is how I found it useful. And I think that it is important that we think through these things in order to essentially move on with our lives. This is Phoenix, and thanks.